Alexandria Fuller, and this is my brother, Steven. I'll start by saying I got the athletic genes and he got the intellectual genes. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for all my dad's football accomplishments, and while those are extremely impressive, I'm going to touch on some other traits. For those of you who don't know this, my dad is not just a great athlete, he's also a genius. Instead of asking Siri, I usually just ask my dad. Dad, how many miles to the nearest gas station? 1.2 miles, he responds within 3 seconds. Football will always be special to my dad, but there's a few things I don't think he could live without. Styrofoam cups, with or without Tito's, dogs, golden retrievers in particular, a good round of golf, and mowing the lawn until it looks like Augusta National. I've always been blown away at how humble my dad has remained through such a storied career. Many people don't realize that he allowed his number to come out of retirement for Deshaun Watson to wear, all while he was well aware that Deshaun was going to be a star. I think that speaks for itself. Likewise, he's a great role model. I was lucky to have him by my side growing up playing competitive basketball and soccer. I contribute a lot of my athletic successes to my dad's dedication and support. The moments we spent together in the gym and on the soccer field will always hold a special place in my heart. And most importantly, he's a great father. Dad, we can't thank you enough for all you've done for us.
It's always weird to hear about my dad's accomplishments because growing up, he really didn't talk about them that much. My main kind of thought about his football career was that whoever decided to give him his own verse during the Super Bowl shuffle made a big mistake. And that whoever had to teach him choreography was just basically fighting an uphill battle the entire time. In our first house growing up, we didn't even really have any trophies, awards, anything, so we really just had no idea of everything that he accomplished. When we would ask him about football, he would mainly talk about all of the great men that he played with and all the great times that they had, instead of all the things that he accomplished. And I didn't realize until recently how much that really gave me a blueprint for how I would approach life. My dad's fiercely competitive. What my sister didn't mention is that he's been thrown out of many, many high school sporting events. And he takes immense pride in what he does, but it's never about recognition or attention or making others feel beneath him. That has always had kind of special relevance for me because I always get asked if I wanted to play football growing up or if my dad wanted me to play football. And all I remember was that no matter what I did, whether that was science fair, soccer, or all of my failed attempts at financial independence, he was always there for me, supporting me. And I'm eternally grateful for him letting me take my time to become the person that I am today. On a night like this, it's really easy to list all of his accomplishments, and you guys saw them on the screen, so I won't do that. One thing I found out recently that I wanted to mention was that he, by the grace of God, was actually a Grammy nominee as a member of the Shuffling Crew in 1987 for Best R&B Performance by a duo or a group, and they deservedly lost to Prince. So tonight, instead of talking about all of his accomplishments, I hope we can talk about his humility, something that he got from his parents, and something I'm eternally grateful that he taught me.
They left me 3 minutes. I'm Joe Bostic. I was fortunate enough to be Steve Fuller's teammate. We came to Clemson University in 1975. And 1975 was a very forgettable football season in the history of Clemson University. We were 2-9, and we were a bad 2-9 team. Gosh, I think we all were scratching our head at Malden Hall wondering why we had come to Clemson. But with Danny Ford's help, Coach Charlie Pell, things changed quickly. Steve Fuller, I think when you start talking about a man that is a student athlete, in my opinion, his picture should be right next to the definition, as the definition of a student athlete. He came to Clemson, made all A's, but 1 B. That professor, I don't think they found his body yet. And it's all perspective. You know, I think that same year he made a B, I made a B. And I was excited. You know, and everybody in the dorm's like, down, what's going on, man? Fuller made a B, man. I'm like, okay, I did too. He said, yeah, but he's got all A's and a B. And I said, oh, I see. I got all D's and C's and a B. I got you. It's all in perspective. So, you know, he was a tremendous student. Athletically, Clemson University's had some tremendous football players. There's one, only one, who's been a two-time ACC Player of the Year, and that is Steve Fuller. Deshaun Watson didn't make it 2 years. Speller and all these other guys, great players. But he's the only one that's the two-time ACC Player of the Year. First-round draft pick in 1979 and played on a Super Bowl team, Super Bowl championship team. Leadership is another thing. You know, you play with players and you play with great players, but the really great players are the ones that make their teammates better. And Steve Fuller was like that. We played the South Carolina Gamecocks in 1977. Remember that, George?
Watch them.
We played this game, middle of the third quarter, we're up 24-0. I mean, we're all over there lollygagging around and patting each other on the, you know, and all this and all that. Well, the first sunshine, a guy named Ron Bass from somewhere in Virginia, man, this guy started throwing balls like you couldn't believe. Next thing I know, it's 27-24. First time in my life, literally walked out on the football field, I could have thrown up on the field. You know, I'm sitting there in my mind going, how in the world have we allowed these guys to come back on us? I mean, all we had to do was just, you know, score another one or stop them or something. And they came back on us. And here I am in this huddle, and Steve Fuller gets in this huddle. And he looks at us, he says, guys, we're going down this field, we're going to score a touchdown, we're going to get the hell out of here. Hey, you fat guys, big guys, give me some time. Looked at Dwight and Rick Weddington and Jerry Butler, you guys catch the ball. And so we took off, and you know, and next thing I know, we're down on like the 20-yard line, and we're rolling out left, and I'm doing my little number, nobody's coming, and I could see this ball flying over my head to the left there. And I said, well, he's thrown that one away. And Jerry Butler, out of nowhere, looked like the $6 million man, jumped up and caught this pass, in which in Clemson lore was always remembered as the catch. And, you know, and Steve Fuller, I think he's one of the most important recruits that Clemson's ever had. Now, Deshaun Watson, the other four, great player. You know, 5-star. When we were coming up, there were no such thing as stars. You didn't have stars. He would have been a 5-star. And in the difference between Deshaun Watson coming to Clemson, you know, they had had 10-win seasons before that. When Steve Fuller came to Clemson in 1975, Clemson's last bowl game was 1959. 17-18 year period, there was no bowl games. And when you look at the current Clemson football operation, you know, you say, what do you mean? They didn't go to a bowl game for 18 years? Are you kidding me? Were they on probation or something? No, we were just bad. You know, I remember Danny Ford coming in when he got hired, and he was like, man, we got a football problem around here. And he said, the only thing I see y'all doing with the inconsistency is getting coaches fired. Well, I ain't coming here to get it fired. Says, we're going to do it my way. And we did it his way. But I want to welcome Steve and his wife, Anna. We were sitting in Tampa Bay 3 or 4 years ago, 2 years ago, and Hunter Renfro catches the ball in the corner of the end zone. And I think we sat there for 10 minutes. Did he really catch that ball? Are we really national champs? You know, so there's been a lot of good times with Steve, and I just really, really appreciate him as a man, as a person, and his kids know him better than anybody else, maybe other than his wife. But, you know, when you have your kids talk about you like that, it's very impressive. So I'd like for y'all to welcome Steve Fuller, the newest inductee into the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame.
Good evening.
when you get a little older, your priorities change, and what you believe is important also changes. And I can tell you what brings me most joy today, my kids, obviously that was pretty special, but to be in a gathering of family and friends and former teammates, boy, there's nothing better than that. And I have so many of my favorite people here tonight. It is a joy for me to be here, and I appreciate you guys coming. To my teammates, I'm honored by your presence. I truly am. I appreciate that. To the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, thank you so much. I grew up in South Carolina, went to high school in South Carolina, college in South Carolina. I've lived not my entire, but most of my adult life in South Carolina. And I wouldn't want anything different than that. It's fabulous, and I appreciate my home state honoring me in this way. I'm also humbled by the great group I came in with. Bobby, we overlapped a couple years. You were a great player. You probably caught a couple of my passes. Steve, I have not met you, but everybody I talked to from Georgia talks so highly of what you've done for them. Congratulations. I'll get to you later, Spartanburg. To the Phillips family, I heard stories about Dodie from my high school coach, who was also an Erskine guy, Bill Carr, who was one of the all-time great coaches. I'd also heard more stories when I got to Clemson from Coach Howard. So congratulations, well deserved. Stephen, we share Spartanburg. We share District 7 Spartanburg High School. By the way, I was so pleased to see some of my high school coaches here tonight that I wasn't expecting. That's a special moment for me. Coach Boyles, Coach Talley, thank you so much for getting here. Stephen was so good, and by the way, well deserved. Great talk. He was so good. I was working, this is a true story, by the way. I was working at Furman football camp many years after I'd finished, and Stephen was coming up, and I had a kid come up to me and looked at me and said, "You're that old guy that came from the same high school as Stephen Davis, right?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am, but it's coming back on you, my friend. You and I, from now on, will always be the two old guys from Zion Williamson's hometown." Right? You got it. Joe, let me get to Joe before I forget. When I look at film up there from those old days, y'all might see passes and catches, and I'll tell you what I see. I see Big Joe Bostic, number 71, pulling around the center and wearing out that backside linebacker, and God, that was a thing of beauty. Especially young guys, go back and look at 77, 78 film and watch 71. He's a fabulous guy, fabulous player. He's always looked after me. He's always taken care of me. I appreciate your words tonight. My story is not especially remarkable. I worked hard, and there were some obstacles along the way, but my parents sacrificed everything. They provided me with opportunities where not that I couldn't fail, but I really shouldn't fail. If I wanted to go to a camp, if I needed new cleats, if I needed a ride to the stadium, they were there for me. My father passed away about 5.5 years ago. He was my hero. He was a great athlete and gave me my competitive edge. You know, the moment, you guys all know the moment when, father athlete and son athlete, there's a passing of the torch. That didn't happen at our household. My dad would play basketball out there. I finally had to give up because he was wearing me out. Elbow to the chest, he ran me into the brick wall so many times. So I finally just said, "Okay, Dad, you got it." My mom is still alive and well. She's in Spartanburg, and I wish she was here. My brother's down here, and he knows what she did for us. Really sacrificed everything so we could have what we needed. And Mike, you've always been a great role model for me. A lot of times I had spotlight and attention that you kind of backed away and let me have it. And you've always been my best supporter. I appreciate that. I made two good decisions in football. One of those was made in, I guess it would have been, July of 1975. And that's when I decided to go to Clemson University. I was not a big Clemson fan. I'd grown up in Oklahoma, and I really liked the Sooners a little bit. And Coach Dooley, I don't know, are you out there? Hey, Coach, how you doing? I was so pleased to see you here, but I'd come down to Georgia and Tennessee and Clemson. And arguably, at those times, this is 1975, Georgia and Tennessee were the more prominent programs. My brother had gone to Georgia. I don't know why I chose Clemson. It was I told some guys earlier, it was a gut feeling, one deep inside of you that said, that's probably where you ought to go. And boy, that was the right decision. The support system, the advocacy, the circle of friends, the network of Clemson people all over the place. There's nothing like it. And they've looked after me. When Joe was right, we were so bad for the first couple of years, but the support was always there. And we appreciate that. And they have forever looked after, and they continue to do that with all the players. That was number one. Number two was made in, sometime in May of 1984. Now, I got married in 1984 also. That was a good decision. But that was not a football decision. But I had played 4 years in Kansas City with I'd say moderate success. Spent really a wasted year in Los Angeles. My contract was up, and in those days, you're looking around for a place to play. And so I called my wife one day and said, "What about Chicago?" And I'd never been to Chicago. She's from Mississippi. She had not been. And we said, well, why not? The Bears were not great. They had finished the year before that 8-8. They had some good young players coming up. And I said, let's try it. It sounds good. I went to mini camp in May, and it was snowing. It was May. And I said, I'm not sure this is a great decision, but boy, I got so fortunate and so lucky. I wound up we were in the NFC Championship game the next year, and the following year we had one of the greatest seasons that anybody's ever had in the NFL. And how lucky can a guy be to turn around and hand the ball off to Walter Payton? Are you kidding me? That's a special moment. So those are my good football decisions. I had a guy, interviewer a couple years ago who asked me, he said, "Steve, what do you think your legacy is?" Yeah. And I said, that's a real serious, heavy question there. I thought about it, and I said, well, frankly, when I think about legacy, I think about, number one, I think about family, especially your kids. By the way, we did a pretty good job there. I think about circle of friends. I've got a bunch of, I tell you what, I'm so happy to see, I've seen some guys tonight I hadn't seen many years. I appreciate y'all getting out here to support us. I'm thinking, maybe about reputation and character. That's an important legacy. And he goes, no. I said, I want to know about your football legacy. And I said, I said, well, let me think about that for a while. And I finally said, well, how about this? If somebody gives my eulogy or puts it on my tombstone or talks about me later on, I want to say simply this: he was a good teammate. What could be better than that? Be a good teammate. So to each of y'all, coaches, players, teammates, hopefully you remember me, and I'll certainly remember you and think of me as a good teammate, and that'll be good enough. Thank you so much.